Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. So today's video is we're going to teach you a little bit about the power of an amp. Okay, so there's a lot of you out there that seem to think you need all kinds of oodles of power and wattage in order to get over top of a drummer. And I've said this before in a couple of videos recently that that's absolute crap. And I'm going to prove it to you today. I'm going to use my Peavey Audition 20 amp, which is the same amp we used way back in the day. And also a correction to this video, it wasn't 7.5 watts, it was actually 12. I did a bunch of research back onto the Peavey Audition 20s, and they were always a 12 watt amp. So that 7 thing was the one below it, 7V RMS. Anyways, so my bad. So it was 12 watt amps we used. And we had no problem getting over top drummers, even playing these amps full blast. And today what I want to show you is how to use half that power and still achieve the same thing. Now I'm using the settings that Peavey recommends in the manual for rock music for this amp, okay? And that means that the main volume is at half, and then your, I think it's the post gain or whatever. Anyways, it's about 6 on the dial, right? I think it's 6. Yeah, 6 on the dial. Pull the saturation out for your distortion, pull out the thick switch to thicken that up, and just add a little bit of treble. I'm going to show you the exact settings on the amp after. But I'm also going to have to turn down my microphone input level, and I'm going to put the microphone down on the floor. Now this is a studio mic, and so it does a really nice job. But I also want to keep it down on the floor to keep the influence where it should be from all the system, because I'm going to be using my main sound system with my rhythm section that's built into my NuX loop core pedal. And my mixer settings for that drum machine right now is about 3 o'clock on the dial. My mains for the out is at about 7, and my amps are at 7. So everything's just like kind of like pre-clipping, right? Except I'm actually into what would be considered the clipping range on the pedal, but it's not clipping because that's controlled by my mains. So we've got two 20 watt Fender Mustang 1V2 amps, 8-inch speakers, they're 20 watts a piece. And we're pushing these things really hard, and I'm going to show you exactly what this amp can really pull off, and then we're going to talk more about this subject once I'm done playing. Now you shouldn't have to worry about your computer volume. You might want to turn it down a little bit, but it's not going to overblast that bad. Now in this room, I can tell you right now, it is extremely loud. I asked my wife earlier, she's sitting out in the other room, my door is closed, and she's like, man, that is frickin' loud, and even with the door closed, right? So it's like, good, I like this. Okay, so let's get on with this, let's turn the levels down and get everything going. Okay guys, so time to show you the levels on the amp. So we've got pre at 5, post volume at 6. Make sure you can see that good. Okay, you can see where my treble is set. Now, saturation switch is out for the distortion, aka overdrive, and the thick switch is also out. Okay, so push in, push in. Alright. Back of the amp. Now, you see up in the top corner where it says Peavey, you'll see 12 watts, and then you'll see 7V RMS and 4 ohms. Down below, you'll see the word 40 watts. Now, that's how much power the amplifier draws out of the wall. The 12 watts is what it puts out. Okay? Now, this is a 32 or 33 old amp. Okay? This is old, and it's bone stock original as well. Okay, 100% bone stock original amp. Pretty good service life, huh? Love Peavey. Anyways, I mentioned this in another video. I was pretty sure these were 7.5 watt amps. And turns out, according to Peavey, nope, they're 12 watts. There's no literature anywhere on Peavey that said that this was ever 7.5 watts. So, my bad on that one, so I can stand to be corrected. So 12 watts of power. I'm only using half the bloody amp here, maybe, okay? And my main sound system, I'd love to be able to show you all that, but I'm using my computer to cut this video. Anyways, hey, I got an idea. Let's put some slides in here, okay? So we'll take a picture here of the mixer. Now, looking at the picture, when you do, I'm going to put these at the end of the video, okay? My stereo red button, that's my main house speakers, we'll call it, because that's the way the mixer works. You'll see where the setting is on the red dial. Channel 2 is the channel I use for my drum machine / all my pedals, and it's set at 3 o'clock on the dial. Now I'm also going to take a snapshot of both of these amps here, so you can see where its amp settings are set. There's number 1, you'll see, and you'll see number 2, and you'll know the difference between them because on the amp on the right you'll see a box there that has some cables coming out of it. So we got these pictures for you guys to show you what all those settings are as well. Now, I had no problem getting over top of that rhythm machine. None whatsoever. Okay? And I'm not even using the full potential of that amp. I'm using way more wattage out of my drumming system going on than I'm using out of that amp. Alright? So, and my Fender Mustang 1V2 amps are 20 watts each, and they're being pushed pretty good, you know? And so I'm using a lot more power out of those amps on each side. Of course, they're both set up equally, okay, so because it's a stereo mix. So basically what I've got is 20 watts per channel going on, but I'm not using that full 20 watts either, all right? But I'm using a good chunk of it, that's for sure. Now, in here, if you were in here with me, you'd probably be going like, oh my god, turn that friggin' thing down. It's so friggin' loud. Literally, you would be, because it's that loud. Okay, I love loud. But it's also clean, right? Now, a lot of people have said to me before, well, you need power to get out there. No, you don't. Okay, now, I play in my church. Now, obviously, we're not playing heavy metal or hard rock in church. We do play the odd contemporary stuff. But I've brought my Mustang amps to church before, just one, okay? And I've run my electric guitar through it, because we did one song where I kind of added a bit of overdrive to it, and it sounded pretty cool. And even at that, you know, the amp was barely being pushed. Now, I could just hear it over the drummer, but we weren't trying to blast out the audience, but it was enough that I could just hear it really well in the mix, and it was fine. Now, I could have turned it up much louder, right? But then we would have probably had some complaints from people saying, hey man, that guy in the guitar there, you Cabby, he's a little loud. Tile him down next time, okay? But I was barely pushing those amps, well, pushing the amp actually. And these are just 8-inch speakers in the Fender Mustang 1V2 amps, and they're 20-watt amps, right? And I'm playing in an area there where our ceilings are, I'm going to rough guesstimate 25 feet tall at the peaks. The length of the room from the stage where I was at, not from the very back wall, but from where I stand up near the front of the stage to the back, that's about 70 feet roughly, 65, 70 feet. And the widest portion of the sanctuary is somewhere around 60 feet, okay, in about that area. Now, the numbers could actually be a little bit larger, but they're definitely not going to be much smaller than that. So that's a really large area to fill up with sound. And we have an acoustic drummer, and my amp was sitting right beside his drum machine because our bass guy actually moved my amp during the session. And of course, running wireless, it's really easy for him to move the amp on me. So he moved it up right by the drummer, right? So now it's behind, the amp is now behind me, because at least this way I could still hear myself play, right? So I wasn't going through the sound system at all, just into my amp. And so anyway, you know, and I could do that with a Fender Mustang V1, Mustang 1 V2 amp, and I'm barely pushing the amp, right? This little Peavey is like wailing it, okay, at only, what, half maybe, right? So it's kind of like, do you really need that much power? Well, unless your church is like, well, if our church was twice the size of area, I would probably have to turn the volume up a little bit louder, okay? With this Peavey amp, I wouldn't dare even use those settings in our church because I would catch really holy hell for it, okay? Mind you, we also don't play rock music either, so, you know, but if we did, okay, if we did, I still wouldn't get away with those settings in the area that we play in as it is, because that is still way too obnoxious, okay? Really it is. So, and so out of a 12-watt amp, let's just say for giggles I'm using 6 watts of that juice is all I'm using, right? That's 6 watts. And you guys are, some of you complain saying, well, I need 100 watts, I need 150 watts in a bar. Okay, well, if your bar is, you know, twice the size of what I have, you still don't need 150 watts to get it really good to the audience, okay? You really don't. And I know as rooms fill up with people, things get denser, volume levels go down, you got to push things a little harder, which is true, but you still don't need even 150 watts in an average bar, okay? And bar gigs are pretty much going extinct like the dodo bird nowadays too, okay? So there's not that many bar gigs to be had anymore, except in some cities you might, but you know, in about the area where I live in Ontario and a few area, well, actually quite a number of areas in Ontario, good luck getting a bar gig because they just don't do it anymore. People aren't going to the bars like they used to anymore, and with good reason. But anyway, so you get the idea here, guys. If you're practicing in the garage with your buddies, you don't need a big stack system. Okay, you want one. Hey, so do I. You know, but I mean, I look at for sale ads too, and guys are selling, you know, these really nice systems, you know, stack head and everything else, big 4x12 cabinets, or 4x15s, whatever. You know, and they're like, it's too loud. Turn the volume down, put some pedals on, because you're using pedals anyway, right? So use your pedals, turn the volume level down. It's not too loud. It's only too loud if you're not using pedals and you want to get that distortion or overdrive sound without pedals. Well then, okay, that's a little too obnoxious. But you know what? This little guy would probably get your butt thrown out and evicted out of your apartment anyway because it's so freaking loud, and it's only 12 watts, okay? And that's 12 watts at full blast, okay? So at this kind of level, you're still going to get an eviction notice, all right? It's that loud, okay? Trust me. You have to be here, seriously. It is that loud. My buddy was over yesterday, the bass player actually from our band, and he was trying out my little pink guitar there, and he was rocking it out, and we actually cranked up the PV amp pretty good, and I hooked him into the sound system, cranked him up pretty good, and I was still kind of drowning him out a little bit, you know. And I mean, that's just the way it is, right? It's loud, right? And so, you know, we could still get the same sound if we turn down the volumes. You know, that's the thing. It's all in your settings and how you set your stuff up, how it's going to operate for you. But anybody who's going to sit out there and diss small little practice amps, well, they really just don't know how to set up an amp, I guess, or I don't know what it is. But I have heard people, you know, say, you know, like, you really need a bigger amp or whatever, and it's like, no, you don't. no, even I don't. I mean, if you're playing in a stadium, okay, like a baseball stadium, whatever, alright, now you need a couple of thousand watts. You've got a lot of area to fill out. You've got thousands of people. Yes, you need thousands of watts worth of guitar stuff to get out to the entire audience in that case. I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. But average venues like bars, churches, your own house, you really don't need that kind of obnoxious power. Okay, you really don't, you know. And but anyways, to each his or her own, you know what I mean? But the point of this video is to not just show you what this little amp can do, but also it was to show you how it can easily get over top a drum system that is extremely loud, okay? And I'm only using half my power. Back in the 80s, me and the lead guitarist had the same amps. We had an acoustic drum kit guy there with a fair-sized drum set, and he was beating the crap out of those drums. And I can tell you from just listening myself to the way I set this up, he was maybe half, you know. But it's hard to say because different size rooms, and you know, we're going back over 30 years ago. So, but the thing is, we had no problems with these little Edition 20s getting over top and keeping our power clean. See, the trick is not to just turn the dials to 10 and blow the shit out of everything. The thing is, you got to set your dials up, get the power out there, but get it out there clean, right? Because you don't want to sound like crap. You want it clean. So clean distortion, clean overdrive, okay, etc., etc. Clean heavy metal tones, right? It's all in how you dial your stuff up and learn to dial your stuff up. And I can tell you right now, 33 years ago, we were still working on how to dial shit up. I mean, you know, it's just the way it went. But we still did a pretty good job, still had really good mixes. We still had no problem with little tiny amps, you know, getting over top of a big acoustic drum set that was beating the crap out of the drum pads, okay? So that just goes to show you and prove to you that this little guy can definitely compete against any acoustic drummer, well, almost any acoustic drummer, we'll say, because I'm not going to say any, because then that puts me into a different category, but we'll say almost any acoustic drummer, it can easily get over, depending on the size of your venue too. That's the thing. It is venue size dependent on how well you're going to get over top and get out to your audience and still keeping your mix good and your signals and sounds clean. But for what this thing does, I think it kicks ass pretty good. Anyways, guys, enjoy the slide pictures. Actually, you know what? I'll add another picture here. I'll put a slide picture of the amp for you too, so you can see I'm taking the picture and I'm not screwing with nothing. There you go. There's your picture of your amp. So enjoy the slides and the settings, and we'll catch you on the next one.